two of men's greatest fears and anxieties when it comes to dating and interacting with women are that of false allegations and paternity fraud or entrapment. Recently, these issues have become not huge discourse, but some discussions have kind of blown up about it on Twitter, now X. So I want to discuss it. Hey everyone, my name is Christian Verstappen, and I have a lot to say about many things. I want to start with this tweet from Ravi. This was back in April, but the tweet has been screenshotted and shared on social media more recently. I was talking to a female friend, and she was telling me how lonely it is for her to be working with only men in her team because they all maintain a respectful distance from her as they don't want to come off as creeps, not realizing it's completely isolating. To which people have responded. When iRape became a thing on campus, where looking at a woman for more than 1.5 seconds was considered sexual assault, it's best for men to avoid the toxic gender until you know that they are not one of the woke zombies. The fear of being told he harassed me or he did something unforgivable. It's self preservation at its best, but I can see where it can be isolating. Guys just trying to do the right thing. Retired now. I followed the Pence rule when I was working. Never have a woman in your office with the door closed, and never go to lunch with them unless part of a group. Safer for your marriage, job, and everything else. Having the option to end someone's career by accusation alone ensures this will happen. All men are now considered sexist, racists. Why should they put themselves in a position to be accused of even more bullshit? I don't trust woke women. Not to come off as creeps is code for lawsuit protection. The law of unintended consequences. This is the grave they chose. A few years ago, I was going to interview a woman. The room was delimited by glass walls, with people working all around. Yet I got reprimanded and told to take a woman with me. Yes, to avoid possible complaints. So women are more expensive for companies. Here's the thing. There has been, throughout culture in general, in the workplace, and just in day to day lives, there are many issues that women face and many creeps that women often face due to a myriad of different things. I do believe that most people, men, women, and everybody else, are genuinely good natured and want to do the right thing. But the consequences, that's not the one. I swear if this sends me, okay, good, it didn't. Feminism aimed at protecting women from a very small minority of creepy men, and the unintended consequences were vilifying all men and stigmatizing what used to be playful, harmless flirting. Regular good men now have anxieties approaching women because of this. Sad. Many men, myself included to an extent, are afraid to even approach a woman that they don't already know or to be too forward with their intentions because we're afraid of getting me too'd. And whether or not it's real, whether or not it's happening, or it's a anxiety we have that isn't founded on anything, it's something that enough people have made seem like it's a real thing that we're afraid of it. There are very good, well-meaning men who literally, again, myself included, to an extent, will completely avoid flirting with women altogether because they're afraid of this kind of stuff, or avoid conversing with women altogether. So this post was also shared on Not How Girls Work, which sub I like well enough. It was deleted. The image it was this image originally, but I had a take. So here's the thing. The problem with the Me Too movement is that a lot of people got the wrong idea. Because many men couldn't imagine people they knew being horrible to women, they think they aren't safe either. People focused so much on what not to do when flirting and having relationships, but most never took the time to explain what to do instead. If you try to quit any bad habit or behavior with nothing to replace it with, you wind up with the only answer to go back to those problematic behaviors. There are many good-natured men these days who legitimately are terrified to approach, flirt with, or even just have casual conversation with women because they fear they'll get Me Too'd or something similar. What many don't take into account here is that your reputation is incredibly important. While it may be true that these allegations only led to gossip, because that's a big thing that a lot of women will say about this, is like, oh, well, they don't even actually get convicted or have criminal charges pressed against them. They just have their reputation hurt a little bit. Yeah, that's all it takes for some time, for some people. You can have your entire career blacklisted. You can have people in your personal life think you're a monster. I have read a ton of stories online from people who have had just horrific experiences. Like a person who was shunned from his entire neighborhood because a neighbor made up a horrible story about him that wasn't true. And who are they going to believe? When you have a he said, she said situation, most people default to blaming the woman. I believe very much in trust but verify, and we'll get to that. Okay. What many don't take into account here is that your reputation is incredibly important. While it may be true that these allegations only lead to gossip, that's all it takes for many people to have their lives ruined. This is why we need better discussion on how to properly flirt with and just interact with others in general. Personally, I've always been on the other side of this, not being direct enough and being too friendly that I'm not even seen as a potential sexual or romantic partner. I've never had to worry about being seen as a creep, so that's nice, but it's not good to be lonely and invisible either. The woman in this post is making valid concerns while the men are being. Oh, right. So in this original image here, there were men commenting on it too, saying similar things to what I went over in the X thread. But fuck it, Twitter. In the Twitter thread. But but there wasn't anything but like the specific things here about, yeah, people being worried about getting Me Too'd for legitimate reasons. Yeah, let's see here. So yeah, some men were being flippant and spiteful, um, but they're expressing valid concerns and reasons for them as well. A lot of it is about seeing more horror stories online rather than interacting with real people. Again, something I'm guilty of as well. But yes, many men who are well meaning will try to avoid women at all costs to avoid causing them discomfort, and it's making them, as well as their potential friends/ partners, lonely. But the answer isn't to go back to how it was either. I strongly believe there should be social classes in school, and they should include things like basic communication skills, proper flirting, consent, and anything else that goes along with that stuff. Obviously, what we currently have and what we had in the past doesn't work, so we need something else. People need to learn how to properly communicate their intentions without coming on too strong and knowing how to take rejection. This applies to all types of relationships, by the way. I hope someday we can see stuff like this happening, but until then, we just need people who have it figured out to lead others and teach them as well. Even if it's not through normal formal education, people need to learn how to communicate and interact with other human beings in general. And that is the gist of my argument. I understand that it can be, if you are somebody who has been, harassed or anything like that in these kind of ways, I understand hearing the concern of like, oh, men are worried about like getting me too, and your response is like, well, then just don't be a creep. It's not that simple. Because what does that mean? There are many things that, because when it comes to attraction and things like that, it really is just all about consent. And there is a decent amount of truth to this meme as well, where you have somebody that is attracted, ergo consent is being given in a way. They find it, nice and everything when someone that they're attracted to, is being expressive about their attraction, whereas somebody that they are not attracted to isn't. Now, people will use that meme and people will talk about this and they'll say like either that's not true or they'll just get mad about it. But the reality is, it is true, but it's not something that you should necessarily get mad about, because when it comes to being attractive, or when it comes to like, I've talked about this before, but the difference between harassment and flirtation or any of that stuff, a lot of it really does just come down to attractiveness. Not necessarily like, are you super attractive yourself, but is the person who you are having this interaction with, are they attracted to you? It's the reason why you can send your partner who you're in a relationship with and you have all these different things, sending them a flirtatious message or a nude or something, can be a fun, flirtatious, spicy, naughty thing to do. Whereas doing that to like a coworker or a random person, that's harassment, because it's about that consent and that I am letting you in to have this type of interaction with me. And a lot of flirtation is really just about that dance and figuring out kind of how that works. The reality is, this interaction here, more than likely, this was built up. More than likely, these people are flirting outside of just this. It's not like this is the first time she's ever seen him or anything like that. They have something built up, and with this, they don't. And he's just like obviously the dude, not good looking, but you get the idea. It's not necessarily hypocritical of this woman here, and a lot of people use this meme to say, "Oh, well, it's so hypocritical," or like, okay, so like we know pretty privilege exists, we know things like that, and obviously there's an amount of that exists here too. But at the end of the day, it's just about consent. That's really what it's about. Does the person that you're trying to flirt with, do they find you attractive? Because if they don't, obviously, it's not going to be, good. But again, in regards to the whole, like when it comes to like allegations and stuff in general, yeah, trust but verify. And speaking of trust but verify, this one I have, well, we'll just get into it. So this was originally from, can we just, here we go. Okay. So this is from True Off My Chest. This is, yeah, okay. My husband asked for a paternity test, and I freaking hate him for it, and I wish I hadn't had a baby with him. I know I'm not the first, and probably not at least, and probably not that, not, she must mean not the last on here, but I'm just so offended and disgusted, and I need to shout somewhere outside my husband's reach, and I know he doesn't have Reddit. So I intend on yelling it everywhere. I am currently sitting with the test results and divorce papers, and of course, he's the father. I've had 3 sexual partners in my 29-year life, and they were all years apart. If anyone is going to say I cheated, I feel like I've been in a state of furious shock since he asked me, because I don't think I've ever hated someone more quickly. Then when I heard him say that, God, this is such. What she means is I don't think I've ever hated someone more quickly than when I heard him say that. Just looking at his face every day since then makes me regret ever letting him inside me. If there is sadness coming, it hasn't reared its head in the last month since he asked. I honestly wish our son was a sperm donor baby. I wish I'd had the foresight. Every time every time I look no, every time I've looked at him since he asked me, I, okay, I guys, if you're gonna post something, please clean up, check your fucking typos and shit. Holy shit, this is insane. Um, there's sadness. Okay, I wish I. I realize he didn't deserve what I did for him, what I gave him, by carrying our child to term, by the pre-eclampsia and the near-death hemorrhage, uh, and that there is not a ding thing I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have do. Oh my fucking! This is terrible. There's not a damn thing he could have done in his lifetime that would be of equal sacrifice. I love our son, but I wish I'd got to a. I wish I'd gone to a sperm donor. I feel violated and betrayed and used because I never would have had a child with this man if I'd known he'd had planned the whole time to ask for this. Because apparently, and we can't see the rest. Apparently, the post itself has been removed, so we don't have the ability to see the rest. But okay, so first of all, well, okay, no, we have this Tiffany Huber had responded, I understand her anger and pain. I probably wouldn't divorce my husband, but I would be understandably upset if my future husband did the same, as it shows a sign of lack of trust. I could imagine what it would feel like if you were excited and ready to take your life to another level by starting a family, and now you have in the back of your mind your husband doesn't trust you at all. One person says, what do you think of state-mandated paternity tests after a child is born? I'd be okay with this. Removes the trust aspect out of the relationship. Now, this is one of the things I advocate for. For those that don't know, when it comes to parental planning, I advocate for free and completely accessible birth control, abortions, completely destigmatized abortions, parental mandatory paternity tests, and not having fatherhood or parentalhood thrusted upon the person, the inseminator, the potential father, if you will. All of those things. I think that the person who, the inseminator should have the ability to leave without any consequences, financially or otherwise. The birth giver should have the ability to leave, give up the child, whatever they want, get rid of the potential child, whatever, without any consequences. I think all of these things. And there's a lot of reason why I think these things. I have family that are the result of infidelity. I know people personally that are the result of paternity fraud. And the father is in complete denial, even though who they think is their child looks nothing like them. And the mother told us. And so for anyone that's like, oh, it's rare or it doesn't happen, it does happen. In fact, it happens way too often. I'm pregnant, and my husband doesn't know. Oh, he is the father. Okay, well, my husband found out he's not my son's father. What should I do? My baby doesn't belong to my husband, and he doesn't know. My husband is not the biological father, and he doesn't know. My husband isn't the father of my son. There are people who even get kicks out of raising another man's father. It's a kink thing even. There are people who get a kick out of cheating on their partner and having their partner raise another man's child. There are people who get a kick out of knocking up a woman. We're going to speak colloquially here, man and woman. A man knocking up a woman and having another man raise his son. There are people that do this shit, and it's fucking disgusting. The reality is, and there was a comment here that said it too, which I seem to be struggling to find, but the reality is, women have the absolute certainty that the child is theirs. Who else is it going to be? Men have to trust the woman. Again, I'm speaking colloquially here. Obviously, this applies to trans and non-binary people and anyone else on the gender spectrum. But we just have to trust. And like I said before, trust but verify. Myself, I don't ever want kids. So if I had somebody, if if I was with someone and it ended up that we ended up having a kid together, I damn well need to know 100% that child is mine because I don't want kids in the first place, and I'll accept it if I have to. But I will make that explicitly clear. Um, I make that explicitly clear to partners that I don't want kids. When I enter into a long term relationship, 100%. And it's one of those things that you need to be on the same page for and you need to be on the same page of well, what do we happen if an accident happens? Because it can happen, you know. But it is absolutely insane. As this person puts here, no, what is unfair is that men are supposed to just take this crap. I've been cheated on before. I travel the world, both when I was in the Navy. Oh, very, very common, by the way, for partners to cheat on each other when they're in the military, especially women. There's this thing known as barracks, I think it's pronounced. I'm not sure. I've only seen the word. I've never heard it, but it's like a woman that belongs to the barracks or whatever. Basically, it means because she's one of the very few women in the military, she's going to be hooking up with a bunch of dudes, and quite likely, even if she goes into a relationship or goes into somewhere being in a monogamous relationship, not going to stay that way. I have never not once cheated on my spouse in a foreign port, but and it's very common to be the other way around too, right? Just to be clear on that. In fact, I watch others do it and I'm disgusted by it. If she did something for him to doubt her, then by all means he has every right to do what he's doing for her. And this person says, and if she didn't? To which Patrick here responds, if she didn't, then she should not get so butthurt to know 100% that it is his. You got a problem with a guy, knowing his kid is his own. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like, what are you upset about? If you know for a fact, if you know you were faithful and you didn't, and this kid could only be mine, why do you care that I know 100%? All it's going to do is prove you right. It's the same thing. This is a tactic that cults use, where they will tell you to just trust them and not look at outside information. But the truth is only going to be true. You can only prove the truth more true. If you go and seek out information and you find that, hey, this actually isn't true, if you try to verify. But if you're so confident that what you believe is true, or that this is true, and you know for a fact, no, I'm 100% telling the truth, your response should be, yeah, go ahead, get a paternity test. I don't care. All you're, yeah, I get it. Go ahead. You want to know 100% it's yours? Sure, I get it. Yeah, I would too. I'd be very offended in the back of my mind, but I'd understand it because there are quite a number of men out there paying for and bringing up kids that, unknown to them, are not theirs. Yeah, completely fucked up. Completely. Is this the one? No. Wait, where's the... Oh, here. Wait, what? Are you... Alright, fine. Pretty sure it was scrolled up. Or was it down? Come on. Okay, yeah. I don't get why paternity tests aren't done automatically at birth. If the father is at the hospital, why would they not do this? Yeah, exactly. Seen too many cases of a loyal wife having an affair to trust women. So here's the thing, right? In a relationship, you do have to have trust. Like, that is 100% true. But I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. And you can say, like, oh, it's trust issues. And yeah, sure, I do have a bit of trust issues. But I don't really believe that you can fully trust anybody. Like, you can't. People change. People do different things. People switch up on you. You can trust. You can give people the benefit of the doubt, and you can think, okay, I trust you're not gonna hurt me. But like, there are examples as well of people do things where, like, a lot of men will tell you, don't tell a woman your personal problems because she'll use that against you, and that absolutely happens. To which I've seen good, like, posts about this kind of thing too, where it's like, don't, what was it? It's like, I don't remember, but never mind. I don't advocate and agree with the idea that, like, women are, like, naturally conniving, untrustworthy, whatever. No. But I do believe all parties involved in any relationship should have trust with verification. So, like, one thing I believe in, for example, is an open, whatever you call it, open technology policy. Some people are like, oh, I'd never have to go through my partner's phone. Like, that's cool. But I think it's better if you say, well, I mean, to me at least, I think a better thing is to be like, yeah, I can go through my partner's phone whenever they want. They can go through mine. Like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't mean I'm going to, but the fact that I have that option to, I don't. I'm sure this is going to be a hot take, but I don't agree with, like, the concept of secrets and that you should, like, keep things from your partner. I think when you're in a committed relationship with each other, you agree to become one, and you don't really have privacy from each other anymore. Like, I mean, as far as, like, bodily function privacy, like, close the bathroom, or close the bathroom door and shit like that. But I'm talking about like, as far as like secrets and stuff go, like I don't think that shit's healthy. I think you should be an open book with your partner. I think both of you should. And I think if you can't be, and you have this concern of like, oh, well, if they find out this or that, da 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 da, then let them find out. And if you want to talk about trust that they're not going to leave you over it. You know, that kind of thing. And if you want to talk about trust for this, okay, trust that you were faithful and you don't have to worry about this. Like, I mean, there are stats on this. I don't know how much this is true. 1/3 of fathers are raising someone else's kid, but it happens enough. It happens enough that it's a problem. Yeah, I looked this up on Reddit, and the comments are implying there was more to this story from the comments siding with her. Unfortunately, Reddit deleted her post, which I find annoying. Not quite. Well, yeah, there was more that we couldn't see the rest. But just talking about that part specifically, I'm with men. Nothing wrong with trust but verify. Yeah, on an issue of this magnitude, I think DNA testing should be mandatory. 100%. You're not wrong mostly, but one thing to keep in mind is that knowing a child is your genetic progeny with absolute certainty is only privilege women enjoy. In the dark hours of the early morning, even the slightest uncertainty can snowball into a need to know for sure. 100%. 100%. People have their reasons. There is a lot of distrust and battle of the sexes and all that kind of bullshit that happens between men and women, primarily men and women. It doesn't seem to be too much of an issue in like queer communities, but primarily men and women. And with that in mind, we should do everything in our power at all times to limit those concerns. Unironically, have classes teaching people how to properly interact and flirt with potential partners, how to ask for consent, how to take rejection. And in regards to the paternity tests and potential paternity fraud and all that, paternity fraud is absolutely a crime that needs to be looked at and punished harshly, 100,000%. There have been cases. There are states, you can imagine the kind of ones that do this, where they will do things like a man will find out that a child isn't theirs, and they will still make them pay. And anybody that wants to do the whole bullshit, well, it's not about the father, it's about the... I told you before, I don't give a fuck about the kid. We talked about this. I have a very hard stance on this. I don't care. And I think that if you're going to be morally consistent about for women, my body, my choice, and that we should completely destigmatize, and again, I say make abortion completely free and all that good stuff, we should carry that same enthusiasm and energy and be morally consistent and say, yeah, and men should have paternity tests and the ability to bail if they don't want to be responsible for the child, if they don't want to be a father. Again, I'm speaking colloquially here. This applies across the spectrum. And I know that this is a hot take. I get it. I know that. But hey, that's why I talk about this shit. Because I know a lot of people either address this issue, I'd say improperly, for lack of a better way to put it. They won't touch it at all. Or they will have some other really disgusting way to go about it. I believe in moral consistency. I pride myself in moral consistency. I try to be as morally consistent as I can, and I think everybody should do the same. And I think when we have laws and things in place and all this stuff, we should be morally consistent. I think if you're going to advocate for things like my body, my choice, cool. His wallet, his choice. That's a very simplified way of putting it, but it's true. His life, his choice. You know what I mean? And again, in regards to the good thing about all of this, I know I'm getting very heated here, but I want to draw the overall point. A lot of this stuff, to be clear, are horror stories. I want to be clear on that. A lot of this stuff is like stuff you can find online, but this is the reported stuff. This is stuff that people have actually talked about in some way or another. This isn't obviously taking account for things that no one mentioned for whatever reason. But the good thing to know about this is that, in my experience, most women that you go to talk to, that you go to approach, are not going to Me Too you or any crazy shit like that. For most people that have actually been Me Too'd, it is the fact that they have overstepped boundaries. But it does lead a lot of men in general to be afraid of approaching women in general because of that. And a lot of these stories of paternity fraud, I don't think paternity fraud is the norm. I want to be clear on that. But it happens often enough that it needs to be addressed. And we need solutions for it. Again, I've advocated for my solutions. I will always advocate for this stuff. I'm always willing to hear other opinions, change my mind, all that good stuff. But this is where I currently stand. This is what I very much believe. But most people are not going to have to worry about that issue specifically. Similarly, most people are not, again, going to get Me Too'd or anything like that. But we do need ways for people to learn and understand how to properly communicate with others and flirt and all those different things. Because at the end of the day, it's just about communicating your intention with that person for that relationship. And that is something that we can all learn for all different types of relationships. Communicating intentions in the proper way is incredibly important. And learning how to take rejection when those intentions are not mutual is incredibly important as well. So as always, these are my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more, links in the description. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like, and if not, I hope you find something to do like. Take care of each other out there, guys. Peace and love.